Hey now, everybody, and here we are live from, well, we're at my house. I'm the Rob, no music today. I've got a rare day off, along with my tag team partner in podcasting. Why don't you say hello to the most dangerous woman on the planet, Mr. Jerry Valeri. Good morning, Jer.
Good morning. I feel like you are a genius. I needed to take off today as well because I didn't realize I was going to be up until 12:30 Eastern time watching WrestleMania. My God.
It was a long show, and if we're going to start with, because I've got a mixed bag of complaints and compliments. Um, the length of the show, I feel like everyone is complaining about the length of the show.
It becomes a battle of attrition. And if you really want to upset your own life, like I feel like this must be what addicts and alcoholics feel like at the end of a hard bender. I feel inclined to apologize to my family. Like I spent a way too much time watching wrestling this weekend. I spent 4.5 hours watching the Hall of Fame, which I wish I hadn't watched. I spent 3 hours watching NXT, which I wish I could have watched twice. I watched numerous different things that were on the network, like WrestleMania moments, adding up the hours, and then 7 hours of WrestleMania. Like I put like 24 hours worth of actual consumption into my life, and I feel like I need to detox. And there's more tonight.
So yeah, okay. First of all, tonight I'm always excited for. And do you want to start with NXT, or do you feel like the? I feel like our audience watched it and probably cares about it.
Let's go in chronological order from the weekend. And if we, I don't want to spend a lot of time on the Hall of Fame, but we can touch on the Hall of Fame. And I can say I was bored to tears by the whole thing.
Hall of
But
Fame was a D. Can we? I mean, like it was not a good show, right? I
not a
wouldn't give
good
it an F.
show.
I actually legit thought the highlight was. I mean, it's Jeff Jarrett and it's the Warrior Kid battling for first place. Honestly, for me.
I enjoyed the Dudleys. The only problem, because I really have always liked the Dudleys, but there were times where I was like, "Oh, Bubba, just shut up. You're not as funny as you think you are, and you guys are shooting on each other. And I just wish you guys would just cut it off already."
For everyone who said the Dudleys were great at the Hall of Fame,
I think we're just Dudley Boy fans.
well, yeah, but I think that when I think of it, I think of Bubba trying these unfunny jokes. That's my takeaway from the Dudleys induction.
Right. And I enjoyed Mark Henry's because I thought it was heartfelt. And I finally gave up and turned off Goldberg's. I was done.
Let me ask real quick if anyone from the post to post, anyone watching, could you give me a thumbs up on audio or let me know if it sounds okay, if you don't mind, please, because we're doing it from home and we're kind of trying some new things here. But yeah, and then did you? I thought that the Warrior induction kid was a joy.
I'm going to go back and watch that because I fast forwarded him.
Oh, I love you. I love you.
I fast forwarded him and Ivory. Bye.
Ivory may have been a good choice. Her speech was very, very weird. She's clearly very upset that she has never been married. Someone needs to propose to that poor woman. It's
Well,
not going to be me.
and it's not going to be Kid Rock because he's too busy driving around Detroit with a van full of candy trying to pick up kids. He looked like a pedophile. He looked
Brittany,
like a straight.
Brittany made the same exact observation. This is my dog, Roxy, who's clearly trying to get on camera today.
Hey, Roxy.
Oh, yeah. Are you not getting enough attention? Anytime I get on the phone, this is what this dog does to me because she's not getting attention paid to her.
Look at her going into business for herself here.
She really is.
Okay, so that's the Hall of Fame. We'll both agree on a D. I'd go lower if you wanted. But let's talk about NXT because that was fun, and I had fun watching that with my son, and he was way into it, and it says a lot because he and I don't watch NXT, so we don't even really know anybody. But by the end of the matches, he knew their names, and man, that was a gripping pay-per-view.
Yeah, I have to give that an A, maybe an A plus. As you know, it's as good as an NXT pay per view can be. I've got the base level knowledge of who these people are and their angles. Their videos do a solid job of catching you up, but oh my God, in ring.
What is happening?
This dog is.
It sounds like you have like a grandpap in there having an orgasm. She's making grandpap orgasm sounds.
I love that dog. In the ring, I don't know how anyone can say, like, every match was at least 4 stars to me. Every time I get on the phone. It's every time I get on the phone. The best method is to just let her get it out of her system. She's trying to get me to throw this ball to her, which I'll be happy to do once the podcast. There's a ball right here. If I touch it, she's going to freak out. So she's trying to get me to throw the ball. She knows this device is what's distracting me from throwing the ball. So that's what's happening. So there seems to be a debate online as to who had the best match on Saturday. And I have a clear winner. There were 2 matches that stood out, but to me, one was better.
Okay, well, you and I disagree, but I can't discredit your pick because I think you have a great pick.
Oh, did I say on Facebook?
You said on Facebook. I believe you're going to say the ladder match?
Yeah, the ladder match was my favorite match of the night. Runner-up being, I'm sure, what your choice is.
Yeah, Gargano and Ciampa was just. I mean, that's one of the first times in a long time that the in-ring psychology was perfect and the crowd played along perfectly with it. It was so good to see. There wasn't one person that was in support of Ciampa, and there wasn't one person that was against Gargano, and it was so. The WWE couldn't have scripted it better. It was such a good match to wrap that feud up.
I loved the kind of strange decision to give Ciampa no entrance. I love that. That was because it really let the chorus of boos be his theme song.
Yeah, and I mean, and my son really loved all the curse words that were showing up. I mean, it was good, but you can't say anything bad about that ladder match either. Now, I did agree with Tony wrote on Facebook. I thought EC3 was bad. I didn't think he was very good, but I'm not going to let one person take away from 5 others killing a ladder match. That thing was amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I also thought that EC3 stood out as kind of a weak link in that match, strangely.
Yeah, and big props to Lars and Killian Dane because big guys in a ladder match usually suck for me. And they went all in. And
I have very little exposure prior to Ricochet, but the hype is real on him as far as I can tell. Like he's aces, man.
And I enjoyed Velveteen Dream. I mean, I enjoyed everybody in that match.
Boy, Brittany hates him. Brittany, I got to tell you, is not a wrestling fan, but we got home from an event here in Evansville, Guns and Hoses, and we put that on. And I was like, listen, I told her it was a 2-hour show. It wound up being over 3 hours. I got a long night ahead of me. Can I start this? And so we ate some pizza and watched NXT. And she was, without a doubt, hooked into that ladder match as someone who does not care about wrestling.
It was a great match. It was just so good. And yeah. I don't like Percy Watson on commentary. I'll go ahead and say that.
I agree.
I thought it was David Otunga for a minute. I thought that's how bad it was.
Mauro Ranallo is still far and away the best in the business.
I love that he used the word Pyrrhic. He said that was a Pyrrhic move if I've ever seen one. And then Percy Watson goes, I bet that move hurt him as much as it hurt the other guy. And Mauro goes, hence the word Pyrrhic. And I love when wrestling announcers are smart. And I love when they get paired with ones that aren't. And I think that's funny to me. That was a great pay-per-view. I'd give it an A.
Yeah, A or A+ for me as far as I can't think. I've seen I think almost all of the NXT pay-per-views, and I can't think of one that exceeded that one for me personally.
And I did not. I know someone will disagree with me, but I did not dislike the women's match. I thought it was a good match.
I agree. I would still say it was in the neighborhood of 4 stars.
You know, you just had two different styles working against each other. It was good.
Different. It was a lot of storytelling. I thought it was great. You know, so
and kudos to them for putting the title match. And I loved Aleister Black, but not making that the main event. The main event had to be Gargano and Ciampa. It had to be.
Yeah, I also, while I was happy that Aleister Black won the NXT title and it's a career high for him, the only thing that makes me sad is it probably means we won't see him later this week on the main roster.
No, and conversely, I think we will see Andrade either tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty good bet, but who knows? Authors of Pain also feel like a good bet to me.
Yeah.
So
them not winning last night just said a lot. All right, so let's get into the 7-hour slog that is WrestleMania.
Was it 7 or was it 8?
It was 7.5. It starts at 5, and I was done a little after 12. So that's 7.5.
Yeah, that's too long. It's just way too long.
I could have skipped the kickoff completely. Like, those battle royals were pointless.
All right, let's start. I've got 2 places I want to start.
First of all, congratulations, Lock of Destiny. You have it. I couldn't have picked worse.
Okay, thank you, and I will receive that. All right, so let me start here, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Boy, how much did you guys like Kid Rock walking Undertaker to the ring last night?
Go ahead.
Everybody was telling. I mean, literally, nobody said it will be the Dead Man. Everyone's like, oh my God, Kid Rock's going to be there. It's the badass. He's going to play all his songs for the Undertaker to come down to the ring on his motorbike. And
Kid Rock wasn't even there.
Kid Rock wasn't even there. Everyone had all these theories, and nobody at all agreed with me that it would be the Dead Man. So I even told the people I was watching with Cornish and some other buddies of ours. I said I would rather pick down the line the Undertaker segment than win the Lock of Destiny. Now, I wound up doing both, but there were several different aspects. I believe there were 4 to get right for the Undertaker, and I got them all right.
It had to be a match, not an encounter.
There was a referee and a bell. That's a match.
Yep, it had to be late in the show, which for us, it was either first 2 hours or second 2 hours, not realizing it was going to be 8 hours.
Correct.
It happened after 9 o'clock Eastern, so you get late in the show. And then Dead Man.
And Taker won.
I got one of those 4 right.
Correct. And everyone was telling me it was going to be the badass. And that was just the one. Like I said, I wanted it more than the Lock of Destiny. I wanted that more than anything. And I can't describe how that felt. I just was so happy when he emerged as the Dead Man and the bell rang. And then
so you were marking out of spite.
Correct. It was amazing. And I did get the Lock of Destiny. So it was for if someone who wants to be a braggart, it was a big win for me.
That was a big night. You had definitely had your WrestleMania moments.
By the way, if anyone watching can give me some sort of thumbs up on audio, I'd really appreciate that. So that's where I wanted to start. And then my other start is, let's start with letter grades, if you don't mind. I have.
Okay. I have one. I'm ready. I've thought long and hard about it, and I'm prepared to be filleted for it.
Really? Okay. B-.
Okay. You went higher than I thought. B+. B+ for me. What keeps it from being an A is the length. How wildly disappointed I was in the Braun Strowman thing. Just wildly disappointed. The U.S. title match didn't do a whole lot. It wasn't A from front to back. I don't know. I didn't hate the main event like the crowd did, but I can't give it an A show. I can't give it an
A. Okay. I admit I was getting texts during that one. Our audio is good. I heard you say the U.S. title was a little disappointing. Would you mind hitting your bullet points again there real quick?
My bullet points was the show was far too long.
Oh, my God. Yes.
The Braun Strowman thing was mishandled wildly, I think.
Oh, my God. We have to get to that. Let's save that. Yeah.
Yeah. Braun and Nicholas was a real disappointment. I'm sorry. I thought Rey Mysterio Jr. might show up. We got Nicholas.
I'm not. If you've ever seen Rey without his mask on, we may have gotten Rey Mysterio. Like you may get bonus points for that.
I feel like we got BF there for sure. And then my final point was that the U.S. title match wasn't super solid, but everything else really was. The main event was lackluster to me. I thought it was funny. Everyone was chanting, "This is awful." And I had to ask you. I had to text you because I wasn't sure if I was hearing it correctly. They were chanting, "This is awful," right?
Yeah, I think so.
Whew. And boring. It got boring chants.
Yeah, I didn't hate the main event, to be honest with you. It's kind of what I wanted out of that fight. It's a Brock match. It's Roman Reigns, with the buildup that they had for, when Brock hit that second F5, I told the guys in the room they're going for the 5, because he has to beat what happened on Monday. So my B-, by the way, I was bouncing between a B and a B-, so I could go as high as a B if you want to.
We can split the difference and go B because I went plus, you went minus.
I'm comfortable with the B personally. Either way, the first half of the show, I would say up until probably Taker, was really, really good.
I loved it.
The opening match was the Intercontinental title match, and I thought that was great. That was a great match.
Awesome. Loved the blue Game of Thrones eyes on Seth Rollins. That was cool.
Everyone had some... Oh, but you know what? Finn's entrance, I thought that was weird.
Was that gay pride stuff?
Yeah, it was like... You know how like when Logic performs on the Grammys, his big song is about suicide prevention, and he's out there with a bunch of suicide survivors.
Sure.
And some people have, big songs about, gay pride and those issues. Like, it's less bothersome to me when there's a reason that they have LGBT people out there with them. Like, that makes sense to me in that environment.
Yeah, don't mistake this at all. We're not saying I don't want to see LGBT people. I just didn't. I didn't see a point for it. I'd rather see the demon.
Finn's character has no sort of relationship with that community. My understanding is the real person is not LGBTQ. His character has never once addressed LGBTQ issues. That seemed like to me glomming for the sake of getting the pat on the back for the company.
Sure.
So did you get that same vibe from it?
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I wonder what this is about.
If his character on television had been a big ally, or maybe if in real life he had some sort of reason to do it, like those are one thing, but it really just felt crowbarred into me. And like I said, I wish there were a better reason. But
I loved how everybody was all dressed up, though. Everybody changed their outfits in one way or another, and it was awesome.
And the set was not like last year's set to me was like wildly crazy. Like loved last year's set. This year's set to me was not like a highlight, I guess.
I thought it was beautiful. I thought it looked really good.
Last year's was a cut above. Last year
it was. Last with the roller coaster, for God's sake.
Oh my God. I know you can't get that every time, but I really, really appreciated.
I thought it got the heart of New Orleans yesterday, and I really liked it. Did you notice they did a lot of 3D stuff?
The augmented reality, which because it was subtle, I appreciated.
Yeah,
I don't need it at every Raw.
Our first glimpse of it was with The Miz, and I liked it.
Yeah, Asuka had a good one, and like I said, don't overdo it. And
they kind of overdid it with the New Day.
No, I was okay with. I'm talking about at least the show in general.
Okay.
I didn't think it wasn't like always on, but sometimes they tend to be always on with their new toys.
Yeah.
And boy, does it remind me how much even a little bit of pyro. They never went over the top really with pyro. I mean, maybe when they announced the crowd, but just a little bit of pyro, I feel like, can go a long way.
Yeah, sure did, and it was awesome last night. Trying to think, which one did I really love the most? Um, it'll come to me. I remember
Well, Charlotte's looked great.
Charlotte's I thought was great, and then there were a couple other times where I was just like, this is perfect. This is
Yeah.
exactly what I want to see.
Rollins had good pyro with the burn it down, and AJ had good pyro with the start of his song. And yeah, the pyro, not everyone needs it. We don't need it as much as it had been done in the past, but I'd rather have a little bit every show than none at all and then a bunch of WrestleMania.
Yeah. So the first match was great. I called that one right, and I thought I was on my way to winning the Lock of Destiny. Little did I know I was about to go on a 4-match schneid.
Yeah, and I guess, by the way, are we ignoring the pre-show?
We kind of are. I mean, Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy, that was the most interesting thing to come out of the pre-show.
Yeah, we both picked Cedric Alexander over Mustafa Ali. I enjoyed their match. I enjoyed their entrances. The women's battle royal I thought was a real, not that the match was bad, but that outcome was stupid. Outcome was stupid, man.
They're just trying to set up Sasha and Bailey. That's all they're trying to
Then why didn't one of them win?
I don't know, because Naomi had to, which was dumb.
But why? Dumb. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like that. And then so yeah, let's get back into the main roster. I'm sorry for that unnecessary detour. Was the next match Charlotte and Asuka?
It was. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I think that was match of the night.
It was. I have that as number 2, to be honest with you. My favorite match last night was the opener.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I love that too. And I don't think I've ever picked the women's match as match of the night, but last night it was appropriate. That match was riveting and they killed it. I thought they killed it. And the ending was shocking.
Yeah, they did it. They did a great job, and I did not suspect an Asuka tap and no cash in. I agree. That was a very shocking ending to that match. And
so when she taps and they show Charlotte in a bloody heap on the mat, were you waiting to hear FABULOUS? I was waiting. I was like, here comes the cash in.
Yeah, I kind of got into the mentality of she might cash in at the other title match, which was not nearly as good.
Right. But when Charlotte won, I was like, oh, here it comes.
Yeah, and it didn't come. And I did like the mutual respect. And I also felt it was a little wasted. You know, I thought you had a hot commodity on your hands. That was not the right place to end the streak, I felt like. You?
I'm maybe not the right place, but the right person. If you're gonna have the streak get ended, I don't mind seeing it get ended by Charlotte. And I think the WWE just wanted to move on from the streak. I bet you that Vince is just like, enough of the streak. Enough of it.
I don't know. I feel like it could have kept going. And, you know, I know it's a cliche, but it could have been used to really establish somebody else. I also think, I mean, she's been undefeated for God knows how long. Why has she never been a champion? This is getting crazy.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I kind of, excuse me. I kind of think it was a little bit of a waste. Although I mean, at the same time, I go on record as saying I think Charlotte is the best woman to ever step between the ropes, personally.
Absolutely. And I think that they may have benefited from flipping the matches for the women and having Bliss and Nia Jax go earlier, because while this was it was awesome, but they gave us what ended up being, for me, match of the night, and your match of the night was first. So after the first hour, we had seen the best.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing, Jarrett, and I was going to get into this here in a little bit, because what do we have? I don't have a list of the matches in front of me, I've got our outcomes, our predictions.
I have them.
So the U.S. title match, is there much to say about that? Jinder was a weird choice, but you know, it was a regular 4-way, I would say. Nothing. If you missed it, you didn't miss much, and if you're watching it, you probably were entertained.
The only little note that I made was the guy that asked for his release last week was the one that took the pin, but whatever.
I think he just wanted to be on the show. I think it was probably his fight there.
Yeah, that was probably, for me, the worst match of the night.
No, I don't agree with that.
Well, no, I changed my mind because
there are several worse.
No, one, and we'll get to him and his partner soon.
Oh, I don't even think that match was worse.
Oh, I do.
I put that as kind of middle of the road because let's keep going. Was Taker next?
No, what was next is what I bet we disagree on. Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Stephanie McMahon and Triple H.
Oh, okay. I don't know if we disagree on it or not because I don't know what you think. The vibe in the house I watched it in was only positive, and those are going to be pretty much my thoughts on this match. Was
okay, good. I thought you were going to say it was bad. I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I thought Ronda Rousey really shined.
There were a lot of variables in this match that could have gone wrong. Ronda Rousey's first match. Stephanie's not a wrestler. Kurt Angle hasn't wrestled in an awful long time. Triple H also not really active anymore. A lot of things could have gone wrong, plus the fact that they got like 20, 25 minutes. I don't remember how long it was. I thought also that maybe Triple H and Kurt would do the lion's share of the work. I don't think that was the case. They just threw Ronda into the fire, and Rousey did great, in my opinion.
She did great, and it proved to me that I think you and I are closer to our assumption she's going to be more Ken Shamrock than she is Brock Lesnar. She's not great on the mic, and I don't know if she'll ever get great on the mic, but she definitely has a fire to her, and she put on a good match, and it was serviceable, and I think she'll only get better. Like it was a lot, and it was fun. It felt like a WrestleMania match. You know, like if you put that same match on Battleground or Backlash, and it's like, okay, you know, it's a good match. But this just felt like the pomp and circumstance of WrestleMania. You had the big Triple H entrance, and you had Ronda coming out in the kilt, and it was all good. It was all just very good.
It embodied sports entertainment. That's what she was supposed to do. I don't want to speak for Cornish, but I watched the show with him last night, and I got the vibe that was his favorite match of the night. And it
was fun. I kind of wanted Triple H to tap to the armbar.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be the end. I thought that was going to be the finish, was Triple H tapping to the armbar. But either way, where she really could have floundered and faltered and really showed her ass, she didn't. She did a great job.
She did, and Kurt Angle he got a shiner. He took one.
Kurt also looks. There was a part of me that wanted him to just come out in his Shield gear again, just because. But he looked like he was having a great time. Yeah, he looked like he was having a great time, and he was. I don't want to say the old Kurt again, but he looked way better last night than he did at what was the show that he returned at? Was it? What was the one?
Tables, ladders, and chairs.
Yeah, he looked better. Would you agree he looked much better last night than that show?
Yes, but to be fair to him, he got more than 2 days' notice that he was going to have the match.
Correct. Yeah, for sure. So
I just thought it was so much fun. You know, him putting the ankle lock on Steph and the armbar going on Triple H, and everybody's finisher getting teased on every gender, you know, like I thought Ronda's about to take a freaking pedigree. Here we go, pedigrees all around. Hey, this is gonna be great. This is great.
Long time listeners to this show will get the pedigrees all around joke.
Pedigrees all around. So yeah, I give that a big thumbs up.
Oh, by the way, I have to let you know that Joe Diffie was a big topic of conversation yesterday.
Oh, Joe Diffie.
Cornish is he knows all about Joe Diffie.
Oh, I'm sure he does, because Cornish and I are both on country stations, but Cornish seems to be a guy that knows country music, whereas I don't.
Correct, yeah. And Cornish, he definitely lives the country lifestyle, and he knows Joe Diffie. That much is for sure.
Okay.
Oh, I'm getting another dog's attacking me now. One sec, hold on. What's tied up in my wire?
I want to hear those old grandpa orgasm sounds that Roxy's making.
So then came Taker, right? Am I right about that?
No, not yet.
Oh man, what came after Ronda Rousey and
SmackDown tag team titles: Usos, New Day, Bludgeon Brothers.
I guess it either didn't get a whole lot of my attention, or I don't know exactly what it was. By the way, I've got WrestleMania going on my couch.
It was oh boy, here they go. It was a glorified squash match. One of the big notable moments for me was New Day's entrance. I think their entrance is always kind of goofy and fun, and I liked seeing the little midget pancakes doing the worm.
Oh yeah, that was a New Day entrance if I had ever seen one with the augmented reality pancakes and everything. Yeah, that was. Yeah. But I mean, to dissect that match, I think would just be
waste of time
at this point. Yeah,
I didn't dislike it though. I liked the match. I thought it was good, and you were right. The Bludgeon Brothers came out on top.
Yeah. I was the only one in the house that thought that too. Everyone else thought someone else was going to win.
Now we're to Cena. We're to Taker.
So this to me was the turning point of the show. Either before this or after this, things started going a little bit south in a typical manner every time. So here's what happened. I thought that this segment was fine, but took way too long. To be honest with you, I didn't need Elias at all. I didn't need him.
They did not need Elias. This double switch with Elias, it took 8 minutes, and I didn't need it.
It was so unnecessary. And also, I wish they would have done so remember how after one of the matches, it might have been the first or second match, our buddy Dan Engler ran down to ringside to tell Cena something, and Cena got up and left.
Well, and that was part of me felt vindicated, because that's why I predicted it would be early in the show. And I should have been more specific. I knew that if they're going to have Cena in a seat at WrestleMania, there was no way they were going to let him hang in that seat until like 9 o'clock at night. They were going to get him out of that seat eventually. And they did. They got him out of the seat, but it wasn't for the match until later.
So I wish they would have done a little bit more, like between every match. Like give me a little bit of the story, or even if you would have done Elias not attached to that segment, I probably would have been less sour on Elias. But when it played out the way that it did, I didn't appreciate it as much. But I mean, I was bouncing off the walls because everything kept going in my favor, one bit at a time. Right.
Do you know Go ahead. Do you know what it reminded me of? Elias coming out?
Oh, I don't know exactly what you're going to say. Can I say it for you?
Go ahead.
Carlito at WrestleMania 21.
You know me so well.
Yeah.
He almost ruined that WrestleMania because he had no reason to be out there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the most I can give Carlito is he can ruin a segment. He won't ruin a WrestleMania for me. Same with Elias. Elias has the power to ruin whatever segment he's on, but not a WrestleMania for me.
They brought him out there just to spit apples and take a stunner. It was so stupid.
Yeah, I agree. It was a wasted segment, and that's what I got last night. And then the Taker thing happens, and that match is really short. We covered, like I said, I got all the bullet points right for all 4 tiers of that match right. I was very proud about that. But this also began the trend of 2 problems. Everything after this went a little too long. And here's what happens, and it's been happening every year that these shows have been too long. At this point in the night, I get into a whirlpool, and I'm incapable of enjoying like the third quarter of the show. It's been so long, and we still have so many matches to go that I cannot keep my eyes on the television anymore after this point in the show.
I'm going stir crazy. Now, I will say before we get into this part of the show, I want to give credit to John Cena. I thought, good for him. I mean, he didn't just do the job to Taker. He let Taker beat him around, and he carried Taker because I think Taker's incapable of doing a lot of things, and Cena made him look like the rock star that The Undertaker is, and made it a short squash match because that's all Taker could give us, I think. And so I say John Cena doesn't get enough credit, I think, from like super smart internet wrestling fans. He doesn't get enough credit at all.
I told you before, I say it ad nauseum. I love him in this capacity, not in a title match, in a story-driven feud. And I want also people to I also feel vindicated about this. I think if you take this match and the segment that happened last night, Remember, like with the lightning bolts and the reference to last year's WrestleMania with his clothes in the ring with the hat and the jacket, and then it disappearing and him appearing. I think, and I'm going to stand by this. If you don't agree with me, I think you're wrong. But whatever. This was his best feud, and I'll take it back to like Michaels. I'll take it back to like when he retired Michaels. Like I'll take this angle over any of the Triple H's, over the Strowman, over the Reigns. This feud with Cena begging him to fight him was better than any of those previous several years of Taker.
Of Taker with of the WrestleMania Taker, sure. I did like Taker coming back against Brock Lesnar.
I'm talking WrestleMania.
Yeah, okay. I can see that. I'm not willing to fight you over it.
So that's just
I know one thing. Next year when he comes back to WrestleMania, he's coming back as Mean Mark. I know it.
You locking in?
I'm locking in. It's going to be a Mean Mark Undertaker.
The only thing I will maybe excuse if someone's like the exception to the rule, if we're talking about total story and not just the builds, WrestleMania 32, I think, wherever the streak ended to Brock, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
So, all right, and like I said, man, it was a whirlpool, and everybody in the third quarter of the show could have been giving a 5-star performance, and I'm so tired, and there's still so much on our plate that I am really, really having a tough time at that. There's like this dead zone. It's going to happen every WrestleMania.
Well, and this dead zone unfortunately happened right here, where somebody that you've been excited to see back in action for 2 years shows up, and my favorite wrestler, and I still can barely keep I started unloading the dishwasher during the entrances. Because
you just wanted to, you would rather do chores than because this is what, like it's like 5 or 6.
I was starting to atrophy. Like I needed to move. I needed to get active before I had bed sores.
Yeah, for the first half of the pay-per-view, I was not social media-ing and texting, and I wanted to be on my phone. I just could not. You couldn't keep me. Please make these shows shorter. I am begging you. And nothing won me over about that match last night. I'm a little curious as to how they're going to handle the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn thing, because now they're fired from SmackDown. Maybe they'll show up on Raw. I also feel like we have to get Daniel Bryan out of the GM spot ASAP. So I thought they really could have taken care of a lot of business last night and didn't. The match, I feel like, again,
we'll see. I mean, remember 2 years ago when Shane McMahon wrestled Taker in Hell in a Cell, and if Shane McMahon loses, he's out, and then he loses, and then the next night he's GM of SmackDown. So
I know. I know I'm talking about a fantasy where they make all the rules. I understand that, but it just seemed like it all could have come together a nice little package last night, and it didn't.
Right. What did you think about Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax?
Man, they would have benefited from 10 less minutes, which was a phrase that Eric and I were saying a lot last night. And it wasn't great, especially having, a really good Rousey match, a really good Charlotte Asuka match. I think that they probably sent them out there for too much time. It wasn't awful. It was worse than...
It told a good story, and you were absolutely right. They needed to have Nia Jax win.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised to have that outcome. The only thing that was, again, kind of surprising was that felt like a good place for Carmella, but she was relegated to just being first eliminated. And by the way, I'm not even that mad about that. I have no affection to Carmella. She's nothing to me.
No.
I don't need her to be a champ. I don't need her to be... If they cut her loose tomorrow, I would not miss her.
It'd be funny to let her go and then just she never cashes in the Money in the Bank.
That you know what? Maybe that'll be. She's the one person who never cashes in her Money in the Bank. That could be her role. She was eliminated first from that battle royal. Man, I thought for sure. Like, remember when Seth Rollins won the world title? He lost to Randy Orton earlier that night.
Yes.
I thought when she was first eliminated, it was going to be the prelude to a good night for her.
Right, but it was a bad night for her.
I would say that Alexa and Nia were probably the worst match of the night.
Yeah. I guess I could give that to them. I just have at least they had a story I cared about. You know, the U.S. title, like I just didn't care about any of them. But that shouldn't matter either because I don't watch NXT and I loved every single match that I saw. So I don't necessarily have to know the story to get into the match.
Agreed.
But they failed us in the U.S. title. But what did you think of the dream match? Because now we're to the dream match. Rob, dream match.
I wish this match would have been earlier in the show because it went into the whirlpool for me of matches that are in the wrong spot of the show. I remember last year it was Seth Rollins and Triple H and Bray and Orton, and it was like they were just in the same spot where it doesn't matter what you're doing. I'm out. I don't know what it is, but you lost me from the third quarter to the main event. And
they lose me when I look at my clock and I'm like, it's 10:40 and there's 3 matches left.
Right. And, you know, like I'm texting Brittany. I was like, she's like, what time is WrestleMania going to end? I said, scheduled to end around 10, but it usually goes long. And it's like 10. I'm like, just so you know, there's still 3 big matches left and I'm going to be late. Because that's the thing. It's like I'm getting fussy at this point. But also, I feel like if I watch that match today, I'm not going to have a different opinion about it. That match was slow-paced. Cecile line from Cornish, it was 10 minutes too long. It would have benefited from being a little shorter, a little faster. And, man, I was really if you watch my predictions video, I said it was going to be probably match of the night. It was far from it.
Far from it. And it really – it was a grinder, you know, and it was okay. I think the best part of the entire match was after the match when we finally see a murderer, a killer, like angry heel Shinsuke. I think is someone I can get behind. Those ruthless kicks, those boots to the head. Like I like that version of Shinsuke Nakamura, and I think that at least it promises to be more entertaining than he's been.
Yeah, it's something. Maybe that's what he needs. I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. The only complaint I have is I feel like he is a natural babyface with his entrance, with his style, with his unique charisma. I feel like he's a natural babyface, and making him a heel is going against the flow. But it's something, and he needs something.
And if it prolongs this feud with AJ Styles and gives us an opportunity to get more matches, that's probably a good thing. But I didn't want to have babyface versus babyface anymore. Like, I love that.
I also said last night, if they feud into the next pay-per-view, Backlash, their match of the year might be Backlash. It wasn't last night.
No, it was not.
So, I really wanted to love that match, and unfortunately I didn't. And like I said, with a lot of the stuff in the show in general, if you would have cut 10 minutes from 3 or 4 matches last night and you made the show 30, 40 minutes shorter, again, we're moving several things in the right direction.
I not only would have cut 10 minutes from this next match, but I would have changed the way it was booked entirely. This was the biggest disappointment of the entire day for me. I was so looking forward to this, and they blew it. They blew it for me.
Okay, so this sounds like it's going to be our biggest disagreement of the night because we've been pretty much on the same page for everything so far. And what you just said, I don't think is wrong. But let me also remind you about the conversation we had on the predictions episode. So for starters,
and for people wondering, we're talking about Braun Strowman and Nicholas.
Correct, versus the Bar. We have both been saying for a while, the right thing for them to do is not make him have a partner. That's my first thing.
Yeah.
So that was literally as close as you can come to that. Secondly, we had both been saying Braun should do all the work by himself, never tag the partner in, which, okay, he did for a minute or a second.
Nicholas is live! Nicholas is live!
And, man, I got to tell you, I was laughing the whole time. The house I was in was laughing the whole time. I took a positive away from that and not a negative. And by the way, Braun Strowman emerged as even more of a babyface after the whole Nicholas thing. And I didn't even know if that was possible because he seems like he's the most over babyface and somehow became even more so. I was a fan of it. And it sounds weird saying it. God bless Nicholas.
Oh my God! If I can maybe separate and I can look at it from your perspective, you're right. It's kind of what we wished for in the form of like Braun's going to show up on Raw tonight without Nicholas. He's going to show up by himself more than likely, although they're still in New Orleans, so Nicholas may be there.
Who is Nicholas? Do we know? I haven't looked.
I don't know who Nicholas is. I don't know if Nicholas couldn't possibly have been a plant. Because if Nicholas was a plant, they would have picked somebody that at least had a little bit of charisma. That kid, and I didn't even know it was a boy.
No,
I wasn't even sure. With the pink shoes and the long hair, I was like, he keeps calling him son. Like
we were having that debate. I would have bet $100 that was a girl. You're absolutely right. But I also want to say, when you put kids in these kind of roles, they almost always screw it up. He did a fantastic job of playing scared, of making me believe he was a possible shoot.
Do you think he was a work?
I'm sure he was a work, but you could not have done a better acting job as a 12-year-old than Nicholas.
And I can see, like, if we go in 3 weeks, every time Strowman shows up in a town, he picks a new kid to come out as his partner. Like, okay. But I was so worked up. They got me so worked up thinking about who could come out as his partner. And I got so excited for, like, remember last year when the Hardy Boys came out? What a moment that was. I was doomed by expectation. I was doomed because I was expecting a moment like that and they didn't give it to me, and it pisses me off. I see your point, and maybe someday I'll look back and go, Rob was right. But last night I was just bummed.
The only thing was, and that's right. So I gave you a few positives about why it was a good thing. The only thing that it's not able to deliver on was the fact that we had expectations. We're talking Rey Mysterio, we're talking Samoa Joe, we're talking big. Like we had big expectations. You mentioned Cass. We had expectations that were built up, but to get to those good things that I mentioned, one of the things that had to be sacrificed was that would be a letdown. And it was. But again, I looked back on that. Boy, maybe
Nicholas
this is
legal. Nicholas is legal. That was funny.
This is the question, I guess, that I'm going to ask the post show most. I'm curious about what your take on Rousey was, but now mostly, are we pro what happened with the Strowman match, or are we anti? Jerry's anti, and I was pro. I don't want this every time, but I feel like last night, it was memorable, funny, affable. It worked for me.
Are we for Nicholas or against Nicholas? That's what I want to know.
All right, I'm pro Nicholas.
I'm con Nicholas. I'm anti Nicholas.
I'm going to get this video up. By the way, this video should not take long to get up since I have nothing to distract me.
By the way, Nicholas needs a haircut and a new pair of sneaks. going to the main event. Here we are. I disagreed with the crowd. I thought it was hilarious they were getting a "This is awful" chant. I didn't think it was awful, but I was bored and couldn't tell if it was the match or the fact that it was 10 till midnight.
I don't think it was a great match, but I thought it was fine. Is the best way I can sum it up. That match did not feel too long to me. Maybe you could have shaved off a few minutes if we're trying to get WrestleMania on time. But Brock has his role. Brock is the brutal, the blood-bearing, he bloodies his opponents. He's the suplex guy. He's the beast. And he wrestled like that last night. That's what I want out of Brock, and that's what I got.
Hard way. That was the hard way for Roman, right? I didn't see a blade at all.
Everyone keeps saying that. I'm sorry. By the way, everyone was saying that after the one with Rollins cashing in. I believe they wound up finding a blade several days after that. I'm telling, there's no way, guys. That was a faucet. People in the house. I was watching that with last night. I mean, there's a chance. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Roman did it before those punches. That's not the way it works, guys. That's way too much blood. That's just not the way it works.
I mean, you're taught when you throw an elbow, it's designed to cut. That's why people throw elbows to the forehead, is so they can cut their opponent, so they can maybe stop the fight by blood. But not that kind of blood. I mean, it looked like he'd been shot. Like it was the amount of blood that would make Ric Flair sick. Like
Guys,
it was so much.
That was wrestling blading blood. That's exactly what I mean. Like, you only see blood like that in wrestling matches for a reason.
And by the way, that's what I've when you and I have discussed this, that's what I've always wanted to do. I've always remember when we talked about going to like an ECW show or a hardcore show and sitting front row, and then just at some point during the main event, just blade.
But casually, that's the thing. And then we sit there like nothing's happening. And we wear white t-shirts, and it's just big. People are like, what? But like, I'm telling you, we sit there, we don't wipe the blood. We just sit there like stone faced. We're at the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, that would be, and that'd be great to have been at the to do that at one of the many shows for WrestleMania weekend. To show up at Ring of Honor front row and just blade.
So that was my takeaway from the show. That's why I gave it a B minus. It sounds like we can kind of meet, and I can go with a B. Sure.
Match of the night for you?
It's one of the first two. Asuka and Charlotte did a great job, and so that opening contest got me really hooked too. So one of those two, I guess I'll say the Intercontinental match.
And I say the women's match. And do you think one of the only other question I have for the whole weekend, would you consider putting the ladder match from NXT as match of the year?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So. All right, guys, we definitely need some feedback on this one. I have no show closing music, but please let us know. Ronda Rousey, thumbs up, thumbs down. Jerry and I were kind of expecting to disagree on that, but we didn't. We did disagree on Nicholas. Are you hashtag pro Nicholas, or are you hashtag anti Nicholas? Please let us know. Thanks for bearing with us today. We'll be back in our normal studio tomorrow. Tomorrow should be another big show. The Raw after WrestleMania, baby. Jerry, anything else?
Nicholas is legal. Nicholas is legal. Get that kid a haircut.